do that because the undercarriage is bulky, it is not aerodynamic. They want the fuselage of the aircraft to be sleek so that it climbs away faster. In this particular case, we know that that didn't happen. So what the pilots did is they replicated that. They ensured that the undercarriage stayed down. They then went and to the wing of the aircraft over here, and on the structure of the wings, there are the flaps. Now, the flaps are just behind. Those flaps have to be in a particular position, right, to ensure that the aircraft has enough lift at the point of takeoff. Now, even with the undercarriage deployed, even with the flaps in an incorrect position, they were able to simulate a successful takeoff on that particular day, just on the basis of a single engine, given the power of the engine itself. So that's the key point. The next one, as you've got on your screen, the Dreamliner did take off safely despite multiple failures. Therefore, the question is this: was there a dual engine failure? Could it be possible that each of these engines in that critical phase of a flight failed? Now, that is just a statistical probability. People say that that is not likely. But the key question is this, and this is our final point. A dual engine failure, hypothetical, plus no altitude, which we know to be the case. This aircraft was only about 350 feet off the surface of the runway, right? In other words, no altitude. That means the chances of survival were very remote indeed. Pilots do not train for that scenario. It's called a negative scenario. Chances of survival in that scenario are extremely low. Therefore, the question is, was there a mechanical error? Was there a software glitch? Was there a pilot error that they couldn't find out in the simulator? Or was it a combination of all? Next week is when the preliminary report emerges. All right, so Captain M.R. Wadia, founder, president of the Federation of Indian Pilots, joins me at this stage. Captain, you know, I mean, at one level, I understand that we are getting ahead of ourselves, but do you believe that there may be a real mystery over here going beyond what many people earlier said was obvious, pilot error? That there could be something significant from a mechanical standpoint, a software standpoint, because it seems quite clear that there was a dual engine failure. A Dreamliner can fly away with a single engine.
Sure. Everything that you have gone through today, we knew on the day one of the crash that took place. There is no point in speculating that what you are doing today also is speculating. Since we have the DFDR available with us, and the CAVR also available with us, the investigating team can go through the DFDR and analyze the data, and they will know exactly what has actually happened. Which engine did it fail? There was a fuel starvation was there, and the details will be available to the investigating team. So there is no point in speculating, because what we are going through today again and again is what we have known on the day one of the crash itself. So there's no point in going
Actually,
over.
Captain, that's not entirely correct. The reason we are doing this is because we now have information that pilots of Air India, including very senior trainer pilots, went to their simulator and tried to recreate several situations leading into the final moments of the crash. They tried to see if the Dreamliner would take off on a single engine with an improper flap configuration with the undercarriage lowered on a single engine. They found that in fact they could do it. They tried to look at multiple scenarios for electrical failures, and if there was a single engine active, they felt that the aircraft would still take off. The question therefore arises on if this was an aircraft which could take off on a single engine, then presumably there was a twin engine failure. What really caused that? So my question, sir, is it possible that there could be software issues which were involved, or mechanical issues which could impact perhaps not just Air India's Dreamliners, but other Dreamliners around the world as well?
Again, what you're doing is speculating, and what you have again said, going to the simulator and trying out everything to ensure, to try and ascertain whether the aircraft will take off in one engine. Yes, everyone knows that. Well, we would have known that from the day one. So there is nothing that you have discovered something new today. So this was always a known fact to start with. Let the DFDR be analyzed in detail.
Captain, I think for the benefit of our viewers, what you may know is not something they may know. The new piece of information, which was not revealed earlier on, it's reported not just by us but by others, is interesting to people who want to understand the cause of this crash. Therefore, if you've got senior pilots ruling out the possibility of pilot error in some situations, it does beg the question, is there something larger? Now, you can easily say that no, we need to look at pilot error as well. But my question to you remains, is it not important to look at software issues as well, particularly considering that there was an ANA flight several years back, a Dreamliner, where apparently there was a thrust reversal which took place uncommanded, albeit once the plane had touched down after landing?
Sure. All these issues have always been known, and every pilot and even the public would know that a powerful engine like this Dreamliner will be able to take off. And if you are studying various scenarios, yes, almost everything is possible. If you say, was a fuel starvation, is it possible? Yes. Did the pilots make a mistake? Is it possible? Yes. Was it sabotage? Is it possible? I said yes. Anything is possible. So let the details, facts come out from the DFDR, and let the facts speak for themselves, and not doing speculation and just going on to the simulator and assessing whether the aircraft will perform the way it is known to have performed, as you informed the public. It would perform the same way as you have said. And so there's nothing unusual about it. So let the DFDR give the details first to start with. Secondly, I'd just like to mention, since there is a lot of controversy about the DGCA asking that there are no inspectors, there's no senior pilot who are in charge of Air India, there's no observation. That is a very critical issue and not been an issue today. It's been from the very beginning. It's a matter of education. Now, education in aviation is a very important aspect. That is why many years back, more than 25 years back, we started an Institute of Aviation and Aviation Safety, which we've affiliated to the Bombay University, giving BSc degrees to pilots. And we also wanted to have an MBA in aviation to have pilots trained in management. That otherwise, almost all the pilots who come to do the training, after 200 hours of flying, they are taught how to fly an aircraft, they're going through a simulator, etc. And then there's very little. I'll ask a simple question. Everyone teaches a pilot how to fly an aircraft, how to be a good pilot. Who teaches them how to become a good commander? For that, you require additional training. You require MBA in aviation.
No, but sir, is there anything to suggest that the pilots on this aircraft were inexperienced, or were the captain flying was not an experienced commander? Because his record seems to suggest otherwise.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And in this specific case, there is no question of MBA or management involved at all to start with. But since there was a lot of speculation recently, as the DGCA pointed out also, that there are no senior pilots who are monitoring the systems, etc., etc. From that perspective, I said it is extremely essential that you go into various aspects of training in the whole aviation scenario, not just for pilots, for engineers, for cabin crew and ground engineers, everyone. This requires, you require to know ICAO annexures. How many people are aware of various ICAO annexures? And what does it say? The Geneva Conventions, what does it say? A commander has a lot of authority and power. Are these things taught to him? Are these things discussed with anyone? And this is what you require a focus on. And we need a lot of focus. In fact, last year with the JRD Tata's function at
Captain, respectfully, while you're talking about a broader education for pilots, that's all very welcome. I think the real focus now is, at least on this program and across the country, on AI171. But I think it is important what you're saying. Let's wait for another week or so. Hopefully by the end of next week, we should get that preliminary report. The big question will remain, will there be enough in a preliminary report to give us an indicator of the cause of the crash? Or will we have to wait for more investigations and possibly the final report, which could be up to 2 to 3 months later? We leave it at that. Thanks, sir, very much for being with us. Appreciate your joining us on this program. Next up, China has declared that the Dalai Lama's reincarnation requires approval from the central government following the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader's announcement that he would have a successor after his death. The Dalai Lama turned 90 this week. He's been in exile in India since 1959, when Chinese forces suppressed an uprising in Lhasa, Tibet's capital. He affirmed that the 600-year-old tradition would persist, alleviating fears among many Tibetans about a future without a central spiritual and political figure. Well, joining us on this program, two very special guests, Lobsang Sangye, lecturer at Harvard Law School and former president of the Tibetan government in exile. I'm also joined by Tenzin Lekshe, official spokesperson of the Central Tibetan Administration. Thank you both very much for being with us. How wonderful it is to have you on NDTV. And for all of us in India, it's such a joyous occasion to know that there will be, at some stage, a new Dalai Lama, though we love the present one deeply. Mr. Sangye, to you first, how important is it for the Tibetan community around the world and in Tibet that the 600-year-old institution of the Dalai Lama continues?
It is a big news and a good news, as you said, for Tibetans inside, outside Tibet and Buddhists around the world, that the institution of Dalai Lama will continue. Reincarnation of the 14th Dalai Lama will be born and will be born outside in a free world. And Chinese government, a communist party, an atheist party should not interfere in this matter. And his office, Ganden Podang Trust, which is also 600 years old, will coordinate the process, and we will have the next Dalai Lama as per the wishes to carry on the mission of the present Dalai Lama. So this is a good news, and there's an absolute clarity that Beijing cannot interfere, and it is the sole decision of the great 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet.
Mr. Lekshe, how does this announcement assure a future for the Tibetan community with not just a spiritual focus, which is so central to your lives, but also a political focus, because that is critical in taking or sustaining the movement for a free Tibet?
So Vishnu, His Holiness, we've been celebrating His Holiness' birthday as His Holiness is the symbol of love, compassion, right? And we've been celebrating it as the year of compassion. So for His Holiness is the spokesperson of Tibet. His Holiness is the voice of Tibetan people. His Holiness is a symbol of Tibetan people, right? So therefore, the statement which just came this morning, it signifies that with the repeated appeal of Tibetan people, wishes for His Holiness institutions to remain, His Holiness affirmed that the Institute of the Dalai Lama will continue. Right? It's a very important statement, and it is also very much concerned with the Tibetan issues also. So therefore, I think it is very important at this time that Chinese government understand that the class of the better is the sole authority of the recognition of His Holiness Dalai Lama and rests upon His Holiness. But and His Holiness has entrusted it to the Ganden Podang, the office of His Holiness Dalai Lama. So therefore, it is very significant. And for us, not just in exile, but also in Tibet, all are in unity and with the statement of His Holiness Dalai Lama.
Yes. Mr. Sangye, the worry, however, is that China has countered by saying that Beijing will have the final say. All of us want an independent Dalai Lama picked in an independent environment by Tibetan people like yourselves. Could there be an unfortunate scenario where there are two Dalai Lamas, one appointed by you and one reincarnated by free Tibetans and one named by China?
Yes, the Chinese government will try to do so. But, reincarnation means this is an incarnation of the present Dalai Lama to carry on the traditional mission of this Dalai Lama. So fundamentally, it is individual choice where and when to be born. And he has decided he'll be born outside in a free world. Now, Beijing will definitely try to appoint their own Dalai Lama, but there'll be a fake Dalai Lama because they have zero credibility. They destroyed all our monasteries and nunneries, and they destroyed monks and nuns. They continue to curtail religious freedom for Tibetans, and they have, even till today, they criticize Dalai Lama even today, right? So that way, they have zero credibility. Now, Chinese government, if they appoint a pope, how many Catholics will follow? If they appoint an imam, how many Muslims will follow? If they appoint a rabbi or Shankaracharya, how many their followers will follow? Zero. For Tibetans, there is a clarity. Whatever the Dalai Lama decides, his instruction, his office will coordinate, and we will follow. So Chinese government will play political theatrics, by appointing their own Dalai Lama, and they will try to parade him, but it will be a fake Dalai Lama with zero credibility. And as far as Tibetans inside and outside are concerned, and the Buddhists around the world, including Mongolians and the whole of the Himalayan region, will welcome and celebrate the one chosen as per the direction of this Dalai Lama.
Mr. Lekshe, the Dalai Lama has become for decades the global face of your push, Tibet's push, to assert a cultural identity. He's also an extraordinarily powerful symbol of non-violence. I think in as much as we talk about what the future holds and one hopes that it's peaceful, I also think on his 90th birthday, it's important to talk about this Dalai Lama, the fact that he's a wonderful human being. He's got an incredible sense of humor. He's fun-loving, he's inclusive, he loves people around him, and he loves India. For us, that's so important. Could you tell us a little bit about the Dalai Lama and how he has been on his 90th birthday?
So, Vishnu, you are absolutely right. Because when we talk about the next Dalai Lama, let us rejoice the presence of the 14th Dalai Lama, the great 14th Dalai Lama. His wisdom, his love, compassion, the radiance is omnipresent, right? So therefore, for not just for the Tibetan people, because one time when His Holiness came into exile, all the people of the world says that Dalai Lama is of Tibet. Now, over the last 60, 70 years, His Holiness belongs to the world. His Holiness, whatever His Holiness has been speaking about, right, talking about and embracing is love for all the humanities, right? So there is no, is boundless. His love is boundless. And even when you look at the present, today's statement, His Holiness has clearly mentioned that even the appeal has also come from China, the Chinese people. And the Chinese people also has revered His Holiness as the leader, spiritual leader, and request for His Holiness institutions to remain. So it is not just for the Tibetan people. Now it's everywhere. So we have to rejoice the presence of the great 14th Dalai Lama and spread his message of
Vishnu,
love.
if I may add.
Go ahead, Mr. Sangye.
Like Buddha came to this world 2,500 years ago, and Buddhism has spread all over the world, even though Buddha was born in Lumbini and did not travel outside of India. But Buddhism and his teaching has prevailed all over the world. Similarly, the great 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet is, his legacy will live on forever, for hundreds and thousands of years to come. We are very fortunate. He is the face of Tibetan civilization, Tibetan identity, Tibetan freedom movement, but also he is the Buddha of compassion, manifestation of compassion for Buddhists around the world. So that way, he is a person who got 150 awards. He has published more than 100 books, and he has traveled around 62 countries around the world. That way, I think the preciousness and the value, the sacredness of his teaching will live on. That way, we are very, very proud to have him and join him in celebrating his 90th birthday. So that's why we call him the great 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet.
I think he's a symbol of compassion, not just for Buddhists, but for people and civilizations around the world, irrespective of religion. But Mr. Sangye, a final question to you. Would you agree that the eventual successor to His Holiness, given the charisma and the international appeal of this Dalai Lama, any successor will have an extraordinary challenge ahead of them in keeping your movement, which is essentially for the future of Tibet, alive? Wouldn't that be a huge challenge?
Yes, on the one hand, yes, there will be a challenge for sure. But if you study all the 14 Dalai Lamas, each one have contributed in their own ways. We call fifth the great 14 Dalai Lama. Sixth, who was in fact born in Tawang in India, happened to be a great poet. And 13th Dalai Lama was great Dalai Lama. His foreign policy and the way he united Tibet is also an extraordinary. So 14th Dalai Lama has contributed in his own way. So if you look at the successes of the last 14 Dalai Lamas, except for the 3 who died very young because Chinese interfered in during Qing dynasty, we have a very success rate, very high success rate. So we are very hopeful, like the great 14th Dalai Lama, 15th Dalai Lama will come and carry on the great legacy of this Dalai Lama and lead the Tibetan movement for years to come. And finally, we will be able to return to Tibet during this Dalai Lama's time, if not definitely during next Dalai Lama's time. So our movement will continue, and for Buddhists and peace-loving people around the world, his vision and legacy will continue.
Well, we hope that there is a date and a time when you can all go back to your land. But as long as you are in our land, you are always going to be our brothers and welcome guests, and very much a part of what we are.
Thank you so much, Vishnu.
Thank you both very much for being with us. It's time for us to take a short break. Coming up after that, a very special interview. We've got John Spencer with us, Shiv Arur, and I interview him. He's one of the world's foremost war scholars. He's studied Op Sindoor very, very closely. Do join us for this very special conversation coming up.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
तेजस्वी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
ये लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते थे।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है, 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, 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 it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shiv Arur, only on NDTV 24/7.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पूरी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
कि जैसे जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
कि लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते थे।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India.
Nearly 2 months after Operation Sindoor, there is a great deal of clarity as to what India achieved in targeting and attacking and inflicting damage on Pakistani airfields, military establishments and terror infrastructure. Well, we in the media continue to put the spotlight on the findings that continue to emerge from one of the most important military missions that India has ever conducted in the modern era. But for scholars and students of warfare studies, this is a never-ending story. And that's why Vishnu and I today are very pleased to have with us John Spencer. He's chair of the Urban Warfare Studies desk at the Modern War Institute, who is in India now to actually research Operation Sindoor for himself. And he's been doing the rounds here in India, speaking to think tanks, speaking to people who've been involved as well. John,
welcome to India for starters.
First of all, welcome to India, of course.
Thank you.
But why are you here? Operation Sindoor was 2 months ago. We do know there are many questions, but what specifically are you looking at here?
It's hard to say. I'm looking for the lessons that India learned. I'm looking for the lessons that Pakistan learned, or we hope that they learned. I study war for a living all around the world, and I think the world quickly moved past this one, although there were many things that were basically game changers. When an entire nation as big as India changes their strategic doctrine, that's important. But the dominance of the weapons, really every aspect of it.
India believes that there is a threshold for warfare under nuclear warfare. There are those who suggest that pushing that threshold or sticking to this model comes with a huge set of dangers given how unpredictable Pakistan is. What is your opinion on the threshold India believes warfare can be conducted in against Pakistan?
Yeah, I think that we have lived in an era where it's almost taboo to even think about. And again, why this operation was so important is that, of course, they're threatening nuclear, rattling the nuclear saber, as we say, that Pakistan does and other countries as well do, is very reckless. And nobody wants to see that. But the idea that is a carte blanche to do things like proxy terror warfare that we've seen countries do is also reckless. So I think that was another important point of this operation when I saw Prime Minister Modi make that not ambiguous, but very clear, like no longer with the nuclear blackmail. We will keep operations limited. And there's actually been an evolution of what nuclear weapons are designed for state survival. Although after World War II, you saw like tactical nuclear weapons when people thought they would be involved in war. Now it's evolved. That theory has evolved to where they should only be used for survival aspects and not to carry out your things where you want to break the rules just because you have nuclear weapons. This was a bit of strategic clarity and really leadership in this era of, look, we know both sides have nuclear weapons. There are the fear mongers that believe that means nobody can act just because of that umbrella. And I think India showed a lot of independence here and leadership to say no.
In your first few days here, John, and you are still doing the rounds and speaking to people, what have been your big learnings?
One of the things is, war is, most people focus on the two militaries, and I do that, of course, all the technologies, but wars, nations go to war, and it involves not just the militaries, but their political leadership and their society. So really hearing from Indian scholars about what do they believe the lessons were, but also the political element of this is almost not a distraction, but India has such great goals in development. And even what was going on in Kashmir with the development and the 22 million tourists over the last year and how beautiful it is, that's been an interesting kind of strategic environment to the terrorist attack that was interesting because there's always what we say an underlying reason for a war, then there's a triggering moment. Of course, the terrorist attack was the triggering moment of Operation Sindoor, but there's always something else. So learning about that has been interesting in context to understand.
One of the problems we have in India is that on the one hand, we have a great strategic relationship with America. We've got our foreign minister in America right now. But then you had the US CENTCOM chief a couple of days back saying that, look, we need to work with Pakistan because Pakistan helps America in the fight against terror, against ISIS-K. We have a problem in India sort of accepting that because we see Pakistan as being the world's sort of state sponsor of terrorism. Osama bin Laden was over there. So many who attacked America as well. Therefore, how should India look at statements from one of your finest generals?
As you know, I try to stay out of political discussions.
But was it a political point that he was making?
It was the relationships are long. And that history of the global war on terrorism, but even you go back to the American involvement in defeating the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, involved Pakistan and the Mujahideen. There's a long history. There are agreements. There are very complex. And I think what we were talking about once on TV is that geopolitics is complex. And each nation, which is actually part of this operation, was strategic independence. In saying, okay, we're not going to do the Indus Treaty if you're not going to be friends, and things like that. The general's comments are more informed than mine, of course. I understand there are many ties, not just the counterterrorism tie, but there are other regional aspects of plans for worst case scenarios and all that is part of that. But that military to military relations is sometimes below the political as well. But we live in a new world.
Yeah.
So I think those relationships, all relationships are changing, and I think what we're all seeing, and I think India is a big part of that, is a turn towards this double game of terrorism, not just with Pakistan, with Iran and other countries. This administration clearly is different than the past.
Yeah.
John, I want to zoom back into the Operation Sindoor itself because you're a warfare studies specialist. The last time shots were fired between India and Pakistan was not very long ago. It was in 2019, and we saw a skirmish at that time. 2025, this happened. It was a much more serious escalatory sort of exchange between the two countries. What is your assessment of the actual fighting that took place? The damage that India inflicted was very, very clear. It was also very clear that Pakistan didn't really manage to hit anything, if not anything, at least not the stuff that they said that they did. What is your assessment of the damage and the way India fought?
Yeah, It's a great question. Even in the West, the stories seem to catch on to the wrong stories.
Yeah.
The story here is Indian dominance of the situation, both in control, what we call escalation dominance, but also in restraint. So demonstration of overwhelming military capability, but then controlling the escalation of that. So the fact that India could hit any target it wanted to in Pakistan and was very selective is the story. That overwhelming dominance of Pakistan's airspace, its air defenses, and the Chinese weapon systems, because it is essentially a proxy of the Chinese military. So all that test of those technologies, you never know until war puts everything to the test. So that story is Indian, not just their offensive capability, but the dominance of their defensive capability. And that's a story that's still got to get out, is how did India's layered air defenses stop any drone, any missile from hitting the target it wanted to? That's a huge part of this story. So it's just dominance, which is important in war. And I don't believe in that there's a bloodless war, that there should be perfection in any nation in war. But when you show dominance and then it leads to a political decision, which is the other side saying, okay, we don't want any of that, which is that escalation control. That is why I'm here to study on the ground Operation Sindoor.
No, I agree with that assessment entirely, in the fact that it actually ended much sooner perhaps than most people expected, which was my question to you. Shiv was reporting from Kashmir. I was sort of anchoring through this entire thing over here. And I think we both felt when Pakistan tried mass drone attacks on day 2, that this was actually becoming a full-scale war. Given the number of drones that they brought, the number of interceptions taking place, the number of Indian missile strikes going across, that this is not going to stop that easily, and yet it did. How would you look at the abruptness with which this war, I use that word war, came to an end?
Surprising, to be sure, but clearly a war is a contest of will. We actually say it's an act of force to compel your enemy to do your will. India did that here, so it'll be a case study studied in war colleges around the world, as in this is an example of war for those objectives. I think the information campaign was a big part of that. So the fact that India, even before it struck the 9 terrorist sites, already had the message ready, like, we did this, these are the exact sites we hit them, this is why we hit them. And then Pakistan decided to retaliate, escalate, and India constantly communicating, which is in a democracy not as easy as people think. For the government and the military to be on the exact same sheet saying the exact same message is another part of that. And why it abruptly stopped so quickly, clearly because there was dominance of military capability. I also think that what I'm studying as well is that difference between 2019 and now, like, what changed? Clearly the investments that India made in their defense establishment, the Make in India, the BrahMos, and all of those indigenous systems are validated.
Yeah. As far as Chinese systems are concerned, John, that's one common area of interest from both the United States and India.
Absolutely.
How the Chinese systems, like you said, it's a satellite state, a proxy of the Chinese government as well. There was a lot of Chinese kit in this fight. Aircraft, missiles, air defense systems, anti-air systems. What is your assessment of that aspect of it?
Yeah, so I'm still researching that part. As you're right, a lot of people are interested in that, and there's this ideal that China gave Pakistan a degraded version of those assets. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they truly just didn't match up against Indian systems. And everybody's always, I say all warfare is asymmetric. You're always trying to overwhelm or outdo the other side. Clearly, though, this is where I try to do objective as possible. Objectively, Indian systems dominated Chinese systems. Now, whether that was a downgraded version is, I think, still the work to be seen, whether it's the PL-15 or all these other systems. It's definitely a big part of the study.
The other aspect is the emergence of drones as a frontline weapon system, both for India and for Pakistan. But if you look at the hits on terrorist targets, in fact, we did the story just 2 days back, showing a very precise hit on 2 terrorist targets, one in Muzaffarabad in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and one in a place called Kotli. These were clearly struck by loitering drones. We've seen what drones have done in Russia, Ukraine, in that war. We've seen them being used in Armenia and that fight over there as well. But it's changed the nature of warfare here in the subcontinent as well. I mean, how would you look at the evolution of warfare in this part of the world through the prism of drones?
Yeah, it's another aspect, and I actually been to every one of those locations you just talked about. So Nagorno-Karabakh, where kind of the Turkish and Israeli drones debuted and caught the international attention, although there's a lot more military things happening than just drones, just clearly as an Operation Sindoor. It's an evolution of air power. Of course, it's a cheaper, less risk, I don't think, and I was watching the DAGO or DGAO talk about, like, this doesn't mean we don't need manned aircraft. This is, again, India's story of dominance here isn't just about having better drones that could do that precision and to make sure that no civilian, to keep it limited and keep from escalation, because that's a big part of it. But it's integrating it all together, because even a drone may be helping a manned aircraft get into where it's going, although in this war as well, again, different than some of the previous incidents, is that neither side, weapons have advanced, so neither side has to breach some of those other taboos of airspace or sovereignty or anything. We can both sides can launch at each other from their own areas. Yeah. It's changing some of the thinking there. The drones on both sides, though, both capable drones that can get through, and you have to have radar, all these things, but also defending against those. Yeah. Because Turkish drones were also sent towards India, and to have that layered system, some people take too many lessons from Russia, Ukraine. It's very unique, and this is why I love my job, and I have a lot of job security. Each one has its own context. So, like, why is a drone being so effective in that environment? And then in other environments, like I've been to Gaza a lot recently, and it's less of a factor, although the tactical drones are more important there.
Yeah.
Taking off from this question of drone warfare is, of course, the very unique aspect, and this is obvious to students of war studies like yourself, John, which is that this is the first time that India and Pakistan have been in a conflict with each other, where the largest part of the fighting was done from beyond visual range and from standoff distances within our own airspace, within our own territory, respectively. We can argue, of course, about the impact that each side has, which was very clear. But long-range missiles, loitering munitions and drones, unlike in 2019, where there were very, very within visual range dogfights actually taking place. So even in just 6 years, that has changed completely.
It has, but again, as the kind of war professor, India gave a master class in integration of joint capabilities, because every one of those aspects, the air is not going to fly without the ground systems. Even the Navy is a critical part of that integration. So you're right, absolutely. But the objectives of the war also. So I live in a world where people take lessons that are very important and then apply them to everything else. You're right, that's a drastic change. We have to record that lesson, but I also understand, and when I saw all the military leaders talking about that together, that was that masterclass in integration of all those systems. But you're right, that standoff and ranges are important depending on what the goal is. I'm an old infantryman, so you still need ground forces depending on if you're securing a border. We've learned a lot of lessons in modern times of you can't get too dependent on technologies, even if you're talking about ranging things.
And Vishnu broke some excellent details about the Indian Navy's the mission that never happened.
On more than one occasion, as I understand it, the Indian Navy was all set to attack. They stood down, in a sense, after the orders never came. But they were on more than one occasion set to even sink ships in Karachi dock, because the Pakistani Navy never came up to play, never came out to play. How did you see the escalation matrix actually going up? Because short of the Navy opening fire, we did see the Indian Air Force take out their airfields, including their runways, their hangars as well. That was a huge jump in the matrix, would you agree?
It was a huge jump, but also a demonstration of capability, just to say, this is what we can do, you should de-escalate, basically. So it is that escalating, which in my world is hard to convince people of. You're escalating to de-escalate.
Right.
You're demonstrating a capability and a weakness on the other side by doing that. Absolutely.
But as an infantryman or a former infantryman yourself, you would know about the dangers posed by terrorists and terrorism and those forces. In as much as India has taken out terrorist centers and terrorist hubs, it doesn't take very much to actually rebuild those. In Pakistan, the sponsor of terrorism is not just the Jaish-e-Mohammed or the Lashkar-e-Toiba, it's the ISI, which is the Pakistani state, which is essentially the Pakistani military. Do you believe that enough of a signal has been sent to the bedrock of Pakistani terrorism, which is the Pakistani military establishment?
That's a good question, and I get it a lot on deterrence, basically. Are you deterring an entire, basically, operation that is sanctioned from the government down? And I've walked every aspect of the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Remember the response after that, you have 2016, 2019. This is definitely sending a message that's never been sent before, which is any terrorist attack will be responded to with overwhelming force. Now, will that deter all the terrorists from continuing operations? I don't think so. But it's done something that is very important, which is ensuring a message is sent on within yourself even, that there is a change here. Any attack will be aggressively responded to, which does change this complete strategic environment. You will hope, but Pakistan has a lot of its own issues, inflation and lots of issues, that you would hope they would give up this state sponsor of terrorism.
Yeah.
The Indian Defense Minister, John, just before we do this interview, was on the phone with his American counterpart, Pete Hegseth. A lot of things were spoken about. The Indian Foreign Minister, like Vishnu said, is in the United States for the Quad meetings as well. Much has been said about one interesting aspect about India reserving the right to conduct preemptive strikes against Pakistan. And that actually hasn't happened before. India has always been reactive so far. How do you interpret that statement, that India reserves the right for preemptive strikes against targets in Pakistan?
I mean, it's a refreshing bit of strategic leadership. Something every nation has that right. So the double standards, both the double standards of the terrorism game, but also the double standard of what you can do in response to them is critical to peace. Our administration now and others even right now, you have peace through strength. And that's a big part of that. So it's not waiting to be attacked. I will show strength, just like Israel and the United States did with Iran recently. That's an important part, and written into like the United Nations Charter, Article 51. Like, I don't have to wait till I'm attacked to respond. That shouldn't be the way that nations react and act in general, let alone doing the terrorism and the proxy warfare. But I think it's a refreshing bit of strategic leadership.
Yeah. India has also weaponized water this time around with the Indus Waters Treaty. How is that a significant part of the extended Op Sindoor, if you like?
I've been looking at that and learning that India had been asking for years to renegotiate the Indus Treaty and the percentage that was going to India versus Pakistan, and there was just no communication. But in the preamble of that is about friendship between two nations, and if one nation is just constantly sending and doing terrorist attacks, I would understand how you would want to not continue that the spirit of that agreement. I think it's a big factor. Again, Pakistan has a lot of issues, and you would think that for the prosperity, right, development and things like that, if you want, which is a big focus of what I've been learning about India's development, not just in Make in India, but the digital, the infrastructure, everything is a part of that. Absolutely an output of Operation Sindoor was, look, if you're going to continue this, then we don't have these friendship agreements.
Final round of questions, John. The ceasefire. The ceasefire at Operation Sindoor has become it's become a bit of a political football between India and the United States. We've seen the US president take credit for it repeatedly. India has, of course, completely outright said that this had nothing to do with the United States. It was because of what India did to those airfields and those hangars, like Vishnu said. Not from a political perspective, but from what you've seen as a warfare specialist. How did that ceasefire happen?
So, from objectively, what I've observed is that India published every minute of every call that was made. From the beginning of the operation to the very end of the operation, and that it was I think the Pakistan DGMO attempted a call that didn't work, so that a few hours later it made the call. Like, that's about as objective as you can be. Although I do believe this information space is critical, and that level of transparency about the calls that were made and the operations, what they did and what they didn't do, is all very important, and why, again, I'm here to study it, because that level of transparency and clarity you don't really see in other places.
Yeah. Just a final question. I've been an observer of the Indo-US strategic relationship from being a relationship which didn't exist 30 odd years back to one which is fairly incredible in terms of technology sharing, intelligence sharing. It's premised on several agreements which have been difficult to negotiate, but we worked through them. Do you see that relationship, military to military from a technology standpoint, growing? And do you actually see India acquiring offensive American platforms such as fighter aircraft?
I would love to see that, and I know that you guys, both of you guys, have covered like the J-35, F-35. Yeah. I would love to see that. I would love to see the $500 billion trade agreement that's been discussed. All of that. I think these are two great democracies leading around the world, and that closer ties, mill-to-mill exchanges, technology advancements. I mean, what India is doing with AI, with even lasers to combat drones, I'm sure there's a lot of people interested in that. So I think it's very positive, and I think that's a very likely, I never say if things are going to happen, but it's very likely, and I would wish for it.
The fact that we have, that we have Russia as friends, and that we've got S-400 missiles which did brilliantly in Op Sindoor, would essentially mean, since India is not giving up on that weapon system, that we will never see the F-35 here. America is clear. The S-400 cannot be anywhere close to an F-35. You don't want a whiff of the F-35's radar signature, however small it may be. And we maintain this independence and this neutrality in our foreign policy. America has a problem with that, obviously. I can understand that. But then how do you see Washington accepting where India is? Because, there are historical factors.
So I saw the Minister of Defense answer that question about how many Russian air defense systems do you have? How many did you have before? How many are you going to have in the future? So I just, objective person would, I think the world has seen how, like the S-300, how it doesn't perform well, or even the Chinese version of it doesn't perform well. And the defense minister said that would be, as India continues to go to make to India, you want to get to that 90% made in India. So I think some of that planning will contribute towards that, but I'm not in those weeds.
Well, John, this has been a lot of fun, and obviously we learned a lot as well. It's good to see someone in the trenches trying to squeeze as much as they can out of Operation Sindoor from a learnings perspective as they possibly can, and you're in it here in India. So thank you very much. Looking forward to reading your work on Operation Sindoor, which hopefully will be out in the next few weeks. Thanks very much, John.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Thanks.
Thanks.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
कि जैसे जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
कि लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते थे।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है, 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
If it matters to you, 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 it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru. Only on NDTV 24/7.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold ICICI for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पूरी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
तेजस्वी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
ये लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते थे।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations?
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Aditi Bhardwaj, and from India to Ghana, we have lots packed up in this bulletin. Stay tuned and keep watching NDTV. Let's take a look at the top headlines. In the Jagan Reddy convoy accident case, trouble mounts for ex-Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy, now booked in culpable homicide case. Victim's wife slams Chandrababu Naidu government, meanwhile, says there is foul play involved in the accident case. CM Naidu, however, calls it a cover-up bid by Jagan Reddy. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 5-nation tour. First stop is Ghana, where he received a grand welcome in Accra. It is now an NDTV campaign, India against VIP thugs, after MNS goons thrashed a shopkeeper in Maharashtra over Marathi pride. Now the shopkeeper spoke to NDTV exclusively, says he's living in fear. Meanwhile, 7 people have been booked in the case. More trouble for Anil Ambani. State Bank of India has decided to classify loan account of his Reliance Communications Limited as fraud, a move that dates back to transactions from August 2016. Meanwhile, Anil Ambani's law firm has responded to the SBI charge, saying that Ambani was only a non-executive director. The Dalai Lama announces a succession plan and declares that he and the 600-year-old institution will continue to live on as the successor is in place. China sees red, says there is attempt to distinguish Tibet from China even further. The jury in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial convicted him of a prostitution-related crime, but cleared him of sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Our big focus tonight, former Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy now landing in more soup as he has been booked in the convoy accident case. Now, Jagan Mohan Reddy has been booked by the cops. Meanwhile, Jagan went and met the victim's kin. After his meeting, the victims spoke to the media and alleged that there is a foul play as the victim had sustained minor injuries after he collided with the Jagan Mohan Reddy's convoy. The visuals are on your screens. But after the foul play allegation, Chandrababu Naidu, the Chief Minister, said that there is a foul play in between this meeting and the victim's kin's statement. He said that there is a bit of cover-up by Jagan Mohan Reddy. The YSRCP is pressurizing the family to save Jagan Mohan Reddy from the case, and hence the family is giving such statements that there is a foul play involved, as the family is now asking what happened inside the ambulance when Jagan was taken, when Jagan's convoy crashed in the man and the man was taken to the hospital. Take a look at the war of words that is escalating, and my colleague Uma Sudhir has more details.
పోతుంటే కారు కింద మనిషి పడిపోతే వాడ కార్యకర్తే పడిపోతే తీసి కుక్క పిల్లమారుగా బయట పడేసి నేరుగా వెళ్ళిపోతే సకాలానికి హాస్పిటల్ తీసుకుపోలేక అతను చనిపోతే ఆయన భార్యను పిలిపించి యాజ్ యూజువల్ మేనేజ్ చేసి మా ఆయనకు కారు కింద పడితే ఏమీ కాలేదు, అంబులెన్స్ లో తీసుకపోతే ఏదో అయిపోయిందని చెప్పి పరిస్థితి వచ్చారంటే ఈ నేరస్తుల్ని ఏమనాల తమ్ముళ్ళు అని మిమ్మల్ని అడుగుతున్నా. ఎన్ని డ్రామాలు నా జీవితంలో ఎప్పుడు చూడలేదు. కోడికత్తి డ్రామా, కడానా కోడికత్తి డ్రామా కూడా నా మీద పెట్టే పరిస్థితి, గులకరాయి డ్రామా.
Quite a dramatic development in the case booked against former Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy. He was named A2 in a case of culpable homicide regarding the death of Chili Singaya, a 55-year-old YSRCP worker who had died after reportedly coming under the wheels of a car in which Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy was travelling on June 18. Shortly after meeting with the former Chief Minister, Chili Singaya's family and his wife, Lordu Mary, in fact, raised very serious kind of doubts about the circumstances under which Chili Singaya had died. She said her husband had suffered only minor injuries in the hand and in the shoulder, and why should he die like that? And she in fact asked the question about what had happened inside the ambulance. She says YSRCP workers had tried to shift him to hospital, but the police had insisted that he should be taken only in an ambulance, and therefore they had waited in the ambulance, and she is now asking what happened inside the ambulance that caused his death. She also says that the police had subsequently come to her home and shown her certain videos. She also says some 50 people barged into her home, and she says she had asked who they were, and they had introduced themselves as Lokesh's men, and she says she had felt intimidated and they had asked her to sign certain documents, and she also says that she had remained silent at that time. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has reacted to these developments, saying that a party that had been very careless, and they had allowed a party worker who had come under the wheels of the car, they had set him aside like a puppy, and because he arrived late in hospital, he had died. And now he said the wife had been managed. That's the word that the Chief Minister used, saying that as usual had been managed. And he was suggesting that they were trying to save the former Chief Minister who has been accused in this particular case. Must point out that while Jagan Mohan Reddy had filed a plea in court asking for the FIR to be quashed against him, he had got a stay against coercive action or against his being arrested till the 1st of July.
Is Karnataka Chief Minister resigning? Well, not. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has today made it clear he issued a strong message for party loyalists backing DK Shivakumar that he will remain the Karnataka Chief Minister for the next 5 years. Now, nodding in agreement, Deputy Chief Minister DK Shivakumar also said that what options does he have? But this also hinted that all is not well between the Karnataka Congress. Meanwhile, in a show of unity, we saw Siddaramaiah and DKS chairing press conference after the big cabinet meet that took place today, where several name changes were announced, after which the BJP has attacked Congress of misusing its power. Take a look at the reactions.
ನೀವು ತಾವು 5 ವರ್ಷ ಸಿಎಂ ಆಗಿರ್ತೀರಿ.
ಹೌದು, ನಾನೇ.
ಈಗ ಅವ್ರು ಬಿಜೆಪಿ ನವಂಬರ್ಗೆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ ಸರ್.
ಯಾರು?
ಬಿಜೆಪಿ ಅವರು ಜೆಡಿಎಸ್ ಅವರು ಸರ್.
ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್.
ಅಶೋಕ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ.
To stand by him and support him, and I don't have any objection to it. Whatever the party recommend and whatever he desires, it will be fulfilled.
You mean sir, currently party is not backing you, sir, right now, because your supporters said you have sacrificed so much for the party. You brought the party to power in the state.
I don't want to discuss anything. All
ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಅದೇನೋ ಮಾರಿ ಕಣ್ಣು ಹೋರಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಕಣ್ಣು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮೇಲೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾಕೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರನ್ನ 4 ಭಾಗ ಹೊಡಿತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು. ಈಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಎಂತ ಹೆಸರದು. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಂತ ವೆರಿ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಚಿಂಗ್ ನೇಮ್ ಅದು. ಎಲ್ಲರ ಹತ್ರನೂ ಒಂದು ಕೋಟ್ಯಾಂತರ ಜನದ ಹತ್ರ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಇದೆಯಪ್ಪ. ಈಗ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಇದು ಯಾವುದು ಗ್ರಾಜುಯೇಷನ್ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನ ಹೊಡೆದಾಕೊಂಡು ಮನಮೋಹನ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ಕಂಡ್ಲಾ.
Shifting focus now to the sharp reactions after another case of alleged custodial death in Tamil Nadu took place. The state government, in what is seen as a damage control measure, swiftly appointed Naveen Kumar, the brother of the victim Ajit Kumar, to a government job. Under sharp political attacks over the case from the opposition, Chief Minister M.K. Stalin had met the family of the victims yesterday. In fact, the CM even apologized to the family, and 5 police officials were also suspended in the case. But the opposition, AIADMK, had launched an offensive against the government. Meanwhile, today, TVK chief Vijay also met the victim's kin. And viewers, please hear me out. At NDTV, we demand end to this VVIP culture and hooliganism. Hence, NDTV campaign India Against VIP Thugs is asking you to raise your voice against any injustice. Time to show these political power leaders who are high on their power that the real people and their voice matter and they will get justice. Now imagine this, that you are on the street and some neta trashes you. Well, now is the time to speak up in support of this campaign that NDTV is running. Meanwhile, a food stall owner in Maharashtra's Thane district was beaten up allegedly by activists of a regional political party for not speaking in Marathi. A video of the incident, which went viral on social media, showed some of the attackers wearing scarves having the symbol of the Raj Thackeray-led Maharashtra Nav Nirman Sena. Now, NDTV spoke to the shopkeeper and he said that now he is living in fear. He was thrashed for not speaking Marathi.
Now, what this NDTV campaign has really done is shine a light on something that strikes a chord with people all across the country. For how many decades has VIP culture, in this particular case, MNS goons wantonly slapping an innocent shopkeeper, all because he cannot or refuses to speak Marathi for whatever reason, raining blows on him, slapping him, and like every bully in this country, doing it in a group of 5 to 7 people. We've got their names. NDTV is the only channel taking their names, putting its weight behind a story that deserves attention, because VIP thuggery, people associated with political parties, the thugs of MLAs or serving politicians and elected representatives in different parts of the country, feeling so entitled that they can, on camera, assault people in this manner, just shows you how far we've actually fallen when it comes to Lal Batti culture, when it comes to the political inequities that define our society. But I think what NDTV's campaign has really done by naming and shaming Raj Thackeray's goons, shining the light on the MNS and parties like it in Maharashtra, which have, instead of pointing their energies at the system, pointing their energies at innocent citizens, living their lives in peace and making a livelihood in a beautiful city like Mumbai has sent out a national message. And I say that it has struck a chord because this kind of VIP entitlement and the casual violence perpetrated by people with power is something India has no place for anymore. And I think even though we've seen this kind of thing in the past, and here on NDTV as part of this campaign, we've counted at least 5 such instances in just the last few days. The names of these 5 people and their faces that we've put out on NDTV and no other network has, mind you, really makes it the face of something that everybody wants to see the back of. We do not have any place for VIP culture. India will not tolerate VIP thuggery and goons of this kind any longer.
सबसे पहले मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूं बाबूलाल जी, हुआ क्या था, किस बात को लेकर 5 लोगों को लगा कि अकेले आपके ऊपर इस तरीके से वो हमला कर सकते हैं?
सर है ना 29 तारीख को शाम को 10 बजे का टाइम था। मनसे पार्टी का है ना हमारे जोधपुर स्वीट के सर्कल के सामने पूरा है ना 100-125 आदमी सब है ना झंडा लेके सब उनका कुछ प्रोग्राम था। वो सर्कल के जोधपुर स्वीट के सामने सर्कल पे 10 बजे सब प्रोग्राम कर रहे थे। और अचानक है ना 10:30 बजे 7-8 आदमी हमारे दुकान पे आते हैं और डायरेक्ट है ना गले पे जाते हैं और मेरे पास आते हैं और मेरे को बोलते हैं जो आप दुकान चलाते हैं, आपके जो स्टाफ है हिंदी में बात कर रहे हैं, आपकी दुकान कौन से स्टेट में है? तो मैंने बोला हमारा दुकान महाराष्ट्र में है। उसके बाद में उन्होंने बोलते हैं कि कानपुर महाराष्ट्र में कौन सी भाषा बोली जाती है? तो मैंने बोला कि सर महाराष्ट्र में सभी भाषाएं बोली जाती है। इतना कहने के बाद है ना वो सब है ना जो मनसे के कार्यकर्ता है सब मिलके मेरे को एक साथ में मेरे को मारते हैं और अच्छी तरह से है ना 10-15 मिनट तक मेरे को मारते रहते हैं। और उसके बाद में सामने से है ना बाद में 7-8 आदमी और आते हैं और हमको छुड़वाते हैं। सर है ना हम मीरा रोड में है ना सर कम से कम 20-25 साल से धंधा करते हैं। हम मराठी भाषा और कहने का मतलब महाराष्ट्र हमारा कर्म भूमि है, हम उनका स्वागत करते हैं, हम लोग उनका आदर करते हैं। हमारे में ऐसा कुछ नहीं मराठी के खिलाफ, हम लोग हमारे व्यापारी भी मराठी है। लेकिन इन्होंने जो मेरे साथ में जो किया, मैं तो एकदम फ्रेंडली उनसे बात कर रहा था और अचानक है ना ऐसे बोलना खाली कि सभी भाषाएं बोली जाती है पर वो लोग है ना सब मिलके एकदम अचानक मेरे ऊपर धावा बोल देते हैं।
जी, किसी के साथ भी इस तरीके से घटना होगी तो आदमी जाहिर सी बात है डर जाएगा, सहम जाएगा। आप को भी अब इस बात का डर है, मतलब पहली बार मुंबई में रहते हुए आपको डर का एहसास हुआ कि आपके आसपास के लोग ही इस तरीके से आप पे हमला कर देंगे?
हाँ जी, जैसा हमला किया ना साहब, अब ये काम करो जो मैं दुकान में जो हमला हुआ है ना वो दुकान में 3 दिन से मैं जाने बंद कर दिया। मेरे को ऐसा डर हो रहा है और ऐसा मेरा दिल अंदर से है ना मेरा टूट गया है और मेरे बेइज्जती के हो गए साहब। पूरा है ना जो वीडियो उन्होंने है ना पूरा वायरल किया और एकदम मैं एकदम दिल से है ना वो गिर गया है साहब।
रेशमा जी, मैं आपसे शुरू करूंगा। ये जो 5 लोग हैं आपके पार्टी के जो एक दुकानदार जिसका नाम है बाबूलाल चौधरी, उस पर हमला किया, थप्पड़ मारा, उसको गाली दिया, क्या ये आप इसको सपोर्ट करते हैं? ये जो एक्शंस हैं आप इसको सपोर्ट करते हैं?
क्या है ना आपको नमस्ते। सबसे पहले
नमस्ते।
कैसा है ना, हाँ, कोई भी अगर हिंदी में बोल रहा है तो ऐसा नहीं होता है ना कि हम लोग गए और उनको थप्पड़ मारा, ऐसे नहीं होता है। उसके पहले क्या घटा है ना वो किसी ने नहीं दिखाया।
क्या घटा है?
ठीक है, उसके पहले क्या हुआ है,
क्या घटा है
कि इसके पहले जो दुकान के मालिक है उन्होंने महाराष्ट्र में कोई भी भाषा बोली जा सकती है, सिर्फ मराठी छोड़ के।
नहीं, किसने बोला है कि ये कंपलसरी है कि वो मराठी में ही बोलेंगे?
ये मराठी में क्यों नहीं बोलेंगे? लेकिन अगर महाराष्ट्र में है,
कहाँ जबरदस्ती है क्या? जबरदस्ती है क्या?
क्यों नहीं बोलेंगे?
जबरदस्ती है क्या?
आदर रखना चाहिए।
ये कोई कानून है कि मराठी में ही बात करनी है?
ये जबरदस्ती वाली बात सिर्फ महाराष्ट्र में पूछी जाती है।
आपके लोगों ने जबरदस्ती की है मैडम? आपके लोगों ने हाथ उठाया, उसको मारा? आपके पार्टी के जो 5 कायर हैं जिन्होंने हाथ उठाया इस दुकानदार पर,
भाषा में बात नहीं कर सकते। हमारे
पार्टी में
कोई भी नहीं, हमारे पार्टी में कोई भी कायर नहीं है।
किसने हक दिया हाथ उठाने के लिए? किसने हक दिया? कहाँ पे कानून में लिखा है कि मराठी में ही का बात करनी है? किसने हक
मराठी में
दिया
क्यों
आपके
नहीं
लोगों
बात
को?
करनी है? मुझे बताओ ना, मराठी में क्यों नहीं बात करना है? ये भी
क्यों?
कानून में लिखा नहीं है ना?
अरे
कानून
मैडम,
में ये भी लिखा नहीं है ना कि
आपको
आप
पावर
मराठी में
किसने
बात
दी
नहीं कर
है?
सकते।
आप तो पावर में नहीं है, आप तो सरकार में नहीं है और बिल्कुल शायद नहीं होंगे भी।
मैं
तो
मराठी हूँ,
किसने
मेरी
दिया
भाषा
आपको
यहाँ
हक
पे
कि किसी और नागरिक पर हाथ उठाने का?
यहाँ पे अगर आप रोजी रोटी कमाने आते हो तो यहाँ की भाषा का, यहाँ का
किसने बोला? कहाँ लिखा है ये? कहाँ लिखा है ये?
क्यों नहीं? संस्कृति
कहाँ लिखा है ये?
लिखा है क्या? यहाँ
आप
की
कानून
भाषा
है
का
क्या?
अपमान करना लिखा है
आप
क्या?
कानून
सर,
है
यहाँ
क्या?
की- मुझे बताइए, कानून में भी लिखा
रेशमा
है
जी,
क्या? यहाँ
आप
की-
कानून है क्या?
सर,
मुंबई के, महाराष्ट्र
सुनिए,
के?
आप मुझे
आप
बताइए
कानून है
कि
क्या?
यहाँ पे सुनिए मेरी बात।
कितने
यहाँ
सीट
पे
हैं आपके?
कौन से कानून में लिखा है कि महाराष्ट्र में आके मराठी भाषा का
किसने
अपमान
बोला
करो?
है?
कौन से
किस कानून में?
लिखा है? किस
दो
कानून
चीज,
में लिखा है,
दो
सर,
सवाल,
कि-
दो सवाल सुनिए मेरी।
सर,
दो सवाल
किस
मैडम।
कानून में लिखा है कि महाराष्ट्र में आके मराठी भाषा का अपमान करे? किस कानून में लिखा हुआ?
कौन सा अपमान किया है? वो हिंदी में बात
वही
कर
मैं
रहे
बोल
थे,
रही हूँ,
इसमें
जब
क्या अपमान है?
मराठी को
इसमें
फालतू
क्या
बोला
अपमान
जाता है
है?
तो ये अपमान नहीं
इसमें
है।
क्या अपमान है?
ये-
वो दुकानदार
ये
है
मराठी-
जो महाराष्ट्र में
मराठी
20 साल के लिए
बोलना-
काम कर रहे थे, वो
मराठी
टैक्स
में
भरते हैं
बोलना
महाराष्ट्र में।
फालतू की
आप
बात
कौन
बोलते
होते
वो
हो?
अपमान नहीं है।
आपके
कौन
जो
होते हो? मैं मराठी मानुस हूँ। कौन
मैडम,
होते हो? क्या मतलब है?
मैडम,
मैं मराठी
आपका
हूँ।
थका हुआ जो संगठन है उसको उठाने के लिए ये सब आप गुंडागर्दी
सर,
करते हो। आपके जो
सर,
5
आपको
कायर
लगता
लोग
है,
हैं
ये
जिनके
आपको
नाम है
लगता
हमारे
है,
स्क्रीन पे,
हमारे
और
पार्टी को एक तो सबसे पहले आपको कायर बोलने का राइट नहीं है।
वो 5 कायर है
शुरू से
मैडम।
हमारे मन से
मैं फिर से
पार्टी
बोलूंगा,
इसी मुद्दे पे है। सर,
सुनिए, मैं फिर से
इसको
बोलूंगा, वो 5 कायर
बोल
है,
नहीं
उनका
सकता।
नाम भी लूंगा मैं फिर से।
क्यों कायर?
वो 5 कायर है क्योंकि वो अकेले नहीं लड़ सकते। वो अकेले नहीं लड़ सकते मैडम।
डोंबिवली में जब पर प्रांतीय लोगों ने मराठी कुटुंब को मारा, तब आपके न्यूज वाले
मैडम,
कहाँ पे गए थे?
आप कुछ भी बोल सकते हो, आप कुछ भी बोल सकते हो। आज कोई सुनने वाला नहीं है आपकी बात।
कल की बात सर,
मुंबई के लोग थक गए हैं। मुंबई के लोग जो एमएनएस जैसा इर्रेलेवेंट संगठन है, डेस्परेशन में ऐसे हरकतें करती हैं, मामूली नागरिकों को लेकर हमला करते हैं। क्या आप किसी उद्योगपति को लेकर आप मार सकते हैं? आपके गुंडों को भेजिए ना कफ परेड।
Now, shifting our focus to another story where in the matter of the assaults to the BMC Additional Commissioner, the Odisha Administrative Officers Association submitted a memorandum to the Chief Minister and demanded arrest of BJP leader Jagannath Pradhan. In the memorandum, the alleged attack on Ratnakar Sahu, the member of this association, the Additional Commissioner of the BMC, was described as a heinous attack. The memorandum said this heinous attack is a stark reminder of the risks and vulnerabilities faced by our members in the line of the duty. They also said that they demand immediate arrest of the prime accused and kingpin Jagannath Pradhan, who is reported to be behind this attack. And shifting our focus to Maharashtra, where now Maharashtra Transport Minister was seen in action. He exposed illegal plying of a bike taxi. Maharashtra Transport Minister Pratap Sarnaik, the visuals are on your screens, exposed the illegal plying of bike taxis by booking a ride in Mumbai using a different name. An investigation that laid bare the department's official version of strict compliance. The minister booked a ride using Rapido app to verify a senior official's claim that the app and illegal bike taxi service were not functional.
तो हमने तुम लोगों के फायदे के बाबा नाव में ये रैपिडो का जो बाइक टैक्सी है वो अभी तक परमिशन मिला नहीं था, इलीगल चल रहा है। वो कुछ मालूम नहीं, आप बेचारा वो कंपनी के हिसाब से चल रहा है ना, मगर अभी ऐसा है कि बगैर परमिशन है। आप अगर देखो, ये आप लोगों के फायदे के लिए शासन ने बनाया है। मैं ट्रांसपोर्ट मिनिस्टर हूँ, तो हमने तुम लोगों के फायदे के लिए ही बनाया, मगर ये आपकी जो कंपनी है वो इलीगल।
And don't go anywhere. Right after this break, we are bringing you live voices from Ghana after Prime Minister has arrived in Ghana. Take a look.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
And shifting our focus to the Prime Ministerial visit, this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi on a power-packed 5-nation tour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Ghana on a 2-day visit, during which he will hold talks with the West African country's top leadership and review the strong bilateral partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was given a thunderous welcome and grand reception in Ghana. He also received a guard of honor upon his arrival at the airport. This is the Prime Minister's first ever bilateral visit to Ghana. It is also the first Prime Ministerial visit from India to Ghana in 3 decades. From Ghana, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will later travel to Trinidad and Tobago on a 2-day visit from July 3 to 4. In the 3rd leg of his visit, Modi will visit Argentina from July 4 to July 5. And in the 4th leg of his visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will travel to Brazil to attend the 17th BRICS Summit, followed by a state visit. Now, in the final visit and the final leg of this visit, Modi will travel to Namibia. But before deep diving into what is happening in Ghana, let's also have Ashok Mohinani, who is the past president of the Indian Association there and currently is part of the Sindhi Association of Ghana. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohinani, for joining us. Your first reaction to Prime Minister Narendra Modi marking his visit to Ghana, how do you feel? How is the Indian diaspora charged up with this visit? We'll try and reconnect our line with Ashok Mohinani, who is joining us live from Ghana right now. And as Prime Minister is there meeting the Ghanaian top leadership, and you can see on your screens the visuals coming in. He will also hold a bilateral with the top leadership in Ghana. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. When he arrived at the airport, he met and he conversated, and also now will deep dive into strengthening the ties between the two countries. Now, while we lost the line with Ashok Mohinani, we have Santosh Nair, Joint Secretary of Association of Ghana of India. And Santosh Nair, thank you so much for joining us on this. How do you feel and how do you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Ghana? Do you think this has renewed ties between the two countries, made it stronger? And how is the Indian diaspora over there charged up with this visit?
Good evening. Good evening. It's an honor for the Indian community for the Prime Minister Modi's visit. We are also excited and looking forward to have a more interact session with PM Modi.
Absolutely, Mr. Nair, while you are thrilled, we also see the ties between the two countries deepening. This is the visit to which has all the eyes. Now, after this, the Prime Minister will be traveling to other countries as well. It is a 5-nation tour. How do you see India is progressing under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
See, the growth of India under Prime Minister Modi is like you can't explain it. It's far too high. You know, now if you say like around the world, India is on a higher segment, because everywhere when you go, India is treated as one of the biggest country, and PM Modi has done that actually. So we are proud of PM Modi for making India so great.
Absolutely, Mr. Nair. Thank you so much for joining us from Ghana. Thank you so much for giving that viewpoint while the Prime Minister is there on his official visit. Shifting our focus now to the other stories that we are tracking, several Pakistani YouTube channels and Instagram accounts have been unblocked in India weeks after a ban was imposed in the wake of the deadly Pahalgam terror attack that killed 26 people. The move had targeted both mainstream media and celebrity accounts, citing concerns over misinformation and anti-India rhetoric. Now, some platforms, including those of Shoaib Akhtar, Abida Parveen, are back online in India. However, accounts of actors like Fawad Khan and Hania Amir remain inaccessible. There's been no official statement, however, now from the government yet on the rollback. And as Sitare Zameen Par, Amir Khan's star skyrockets on the Indian cinema and near theatres, NDTV spoke exclusively to Amir Khan on the overwhelming response of Sitare Zameen Par, where he shared how he felt working in this special movie. Remember, when Tare Zameen Par came, it touched hearts of millions, and now Sitare Zameen Par is also nearing to get biggest blockbuster of this year. Listen in.
इतने खुश चेहरे देख रहा हूँ मैं और जिस तरह लोग मतलब the film is really touching a deep chord with people and that's making me and the entire team very happy.
How was the response inside?
Yeah, wonderful. The kids are loving it.
We are getting teary-eyed whenever we are watching the film. How many times we watch it doesn't matter. Is it happening to you too? Because we have seen you.
Well, yeah, I do get very emotional very soon.
And on that note, it's a goodbye time, but do stay and keep watching NDTV.
If it matters to you, 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 it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru, only on NDTV 24/7.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव।
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you.
I convicted him of a prostitution-related crime but cleared him of sex trafficking and racketeering charges. And first up, our top focus in Andhra Pradesh, where the former Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy is landing in big trouble as he has been booked in the culpable